Kai Toogood, MM04, Current Issues in Football. Today I'll be talking about the influences of media on football and the influences of technology on football. But in this video, I'll be focusing on the media side. The internet is slowly becoming the most popular and most influential factor of football through media. The television had a very good head start over the internet. This means a lot of money was put through football to be shown on our televisions throughout the country. The internet is now so easily accessible that almost anyone can get online, whether it be at home, at a library, or a school, or at college. The internet influences football in similar ways to television. Both television and the internet have chances for discussion. Both do this in different ways. The television has a post-match report and discussions after the game. Another way in which the internet can influence sport is through specific football team websites. Every football team in the country has their own website. This website will involve a club shop that sells merchandise such as mugs, cups, and scarves, and go all the way to club tops, which replicas of can be sold. These can be family interested from kids, mainly children. Television is run by two main companies. These companies include BT Sport and Sky Sports. They both pay millions of pounds to show football from all across the world. They show football from every league, almost every league in Europe, but mainly they like to show games in England, and from England they show from the Premiership all the way down to League Two football. However, other channels such as Match of the Day, which is run by BBC, show highlights from all the games on a Saturday and Sunday shown in the Premiership, and Channel 5 show football league goals all the way from the Championship to League 2. They will show every goal, which can interest many people who have a fond interest in football. In addition, newspapers is another main influence of media within football. Newspapers can go either one of two ways. They can be very biased towards a player or a team and make them either look bad or good within the media. For example, when Steven Gerrard was arrested for assault many years ago while playing for Liverpool, the newspaper made him out to be a bad figure and were very biased against him. The newspaper showed the wrong story and made many people turn against Steven Gerrard. Newspapers are bought and read every day. This gives newspapers almost permission to post anything they want, and people will almost always believe it. All transfer news is put through the newspapers, and this news is spread, which can make players and clubs very unhappy. Newspapers can also pick on teams that are not performing well, and if a player reads this, it can get on their back and affect their performance and the team's performance, which can result into a loss. There are also magazines that are made for younger children. These include Match of the Day magazines, Match magazines, and Kick magazines. All these magazines have lots of gossip on football and advertise new equipment such as boots, shin pads, and kits. This can be a good advertisement for companies such as Adidas, Nike, Umbro, and Sondico, and even big clubs such as Liverpool, Manchester United, Chelsea, and Man City. Another type of newspaper is a broadsheet. This type of newspaper goes into a lot more depth, giving you more details about the sport and game itself, meaning you can get to read more about the analysis of the game rather than the matters outside of football, such as racism scandals, dissent issues, etc. A broadsheet will usually give a lot more detail about the game itself and will analyse the game, picking out key moments in the game. This means that the broadsheets have a lot more depth and detail to them, giving the reader a short explanation about the key moments in the game. Radio is the other big media around football. There are two main radio stations called Radio 5 Live, which is ran by BBC, and Talk Sport. Radio now mainly focuses on debating about current issues within football, such as transfer news and problems within the sport. But they also comment on matches and give live commentary of games. These games normally are just inside England, but sometimes vary outside of Europe. A main commentator and a special guest do a lot of coverage of these games. The special guest can be someone famous who is a strong football fan or an ex-professional. By doing this, it creates a more attractive, appealing listen. Fans will see or hear that an ex-pro will be commentating on a football match, which immediately catches their attention and it appeals to them more than just a nobody commentator. Radio also has advantage as the car is a very popular way of transport, and most cars have a radio within. And if you're very fond of football, you would tend to listen to the football on the radio, which can give the TalkSport and Radio 5 Live a head of advantage. I will now be talking about technology within football. Goal line technology is a big topic within football. For many years before it was introduced to the Premier League, there were many incidents in which goals were not given across the line in the decisive decisions of the match. The most famous one towards me is Frank Lampard's ghost goal versus Germany in the quarter-finals of the 2006 World Cup, where it should have been made the game 2-2 and give England every chance. However, the ball crossed the line by 1 foot and neither official spotted it. 2010 World Cup, FIFA themselves had urged that maybe it's time to introduce this as an argument for technology will only get stronger as more incidents happen. They set out a criteria for technology, which through as follows. 1. The technology applies solely to the goal line and only determine whether the goal has been scored or not. This should not be used for corners or goal kicks. 2. The system must be very accurate, meaning that any ball that does not cross the line is not given, and any ball that does cross the line is given. 3. The incident of whether the goal has been scored must be immediate and automatically firm within 1 second on the referee. The indication of whether a goal has been scored will only be communicated to the match officials. This includes the linesman and the referee. This is done via the referee's watch. They will give vibration and visual signal. This cannot be argued against as the criteria is fairly simple, but it does what everyone wants, which it answers the correct decisions. Clothing technology has improved a lot in the past few decades. Kits have become tighter. This means players look better on the pitch, and it is harder for the opposing team to be fouled by tugging on their kit. This means it makes it easier for the referees as they have less to concentrate on and be able to concentrate on the bigger decisions within a match. In the 2012/13 season, Tottenham Hotspur were the first team to make a new deal on their kit, which they signed with Under Armour looked to have the new shirts with the technology in them. By the start of the 2012-13 season, they had sensors in the kit which send second-by-second updates on everything from the player's heart rate to the core body temperature. It can also be accurately recorded their acceleration or breathing rate. This is the important design which all teams took on board to their kit. Another example for technology is football goggles. Many years ago, when football was not as technologised, players would not be able to play with their glasses on, which means their vision would be affected. Now players can wear goggles while playing football, which means that they will be able to play football safely and be able to see. Something else that has developed a lot in football is the football boots. Many years ago, football boots used to be heavy and hard to play in. Nowadays, they're very light and have studs to go in any ground. So if it's a hard ground, it's been sunny recently, you'd wear molds, which means you would not have the risk of breaking your leg by wearing studs which get stuck in the ground and twist your ankle. The final thing that has been developed a lot in football is the actual football. Many years ago, they used to use heavy leather footballs, which players could only do basic things with. Nowadays, teams and clubs and leagues use new technologised footballs, which are lighter, softer padding around the edge so footballers do not injure themselves in just kicking the ball alone, because now the boots are so light. The balls now have technology to move through the air differently to the old footballs, which means that the footballs can do a lot more than they used to. Thank you for listening.